Hi, welcome to Sustain Talks. Today I'm joined by Ananth Murthy. Ananth is the CEO and co-founder of The Timber Maker, who I recently met and who told me about his sustainability journey. I wanted to share that with my audience because it's such a beautiful story, and I'm delighted to be here with you today, Ananth. How are you?
I'm good, Sam. Morning. I'm good. I'm really good. Thanks for that great introduction.
I'm looking forward to sharing your story. Why don't you start and tell us a bit about your background and your history and how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, why not? So, hi, as Sam said, I'm Ananth. I'm the co-founder of The Timber Maker. We are a company that makes handcrafted solid wood furniture, all made from sustainable wood or sustainably sourced wood in limited quantities. So a bit about me. So I used to work in the public sector and most recently as a civil servant for the last sort of 10, 15 years. Before that, I used to work in the banking division of Bank of Scotland when I came to this country back in 2005 to do my master's. And ever since I came here, I mean, one of my main one of my dreams was to have my own business at some point. But obviously, life takes over, and then you start getting into a job, and you get married, you get kids. Kind of gets more and more difficult to find time for yourself or to do things that you actually want to do. And then in 2019, I left the public sector. I went into private sector to work for London's biggest hotel management company as a program manager to kind of lead on refurbishment projects. That's where I kind of came across, furniture suppliers per se. And obviously, I mean, before we actually bought a house, we used to buy a lot of flat pack furniture, mainly because of cost reasons. And then when you actually work for an organization that kind of purchases all furniture and things like that, that's when you kind of start looking at things more closely. And the first thing I noticed was quite a lot of the furniture was made from MDF or chipboard or particle board or engineered wood. It was not only just not sustainable, but not long lasting. Especially for organizations such as hotels and stuff, where there's a lot of usage quite quickly, and then you have to end up purchasing more and more things more regularly. That's when I kind of started to do a bit of research, thinking, okay, fine, what can we do around buying for that organization at that point, for buying furniture that is longer lasting, sustainable, and has minimal impact, not just on the organization's finances, but also on the environment. And I've always been an environmentally conscious person, even when I was working in the public sector, because I used to work with small businesses to improve on programs to improve their carbon footprint or to reduce their carbon footprint. So I kind of tried to replicate that in the private sector. And I saw that, there wasn't a lot of players in the market that actually did provide sustainably sourced solid wood furniture at a reasonable price. So I got to do a bit of research for the B2B segment. And at the same time, I thought, okay, let's try and see if there's anything available in the market for the B2C, so for direct retail clients. And again, a lot of the customers talk about being sustainable, producing solid wood furniture, but it kind of ended right there, just at that organization level. And literally, when I was just going through the research phase, pandemic struck and I was made redundant. And my wife was heavily pregnant with our second daughter. So we were redecorating our eldest daughter's room. So I kind of bought a lot of furniture, again, flat packed MDF, essentially, because obviously there wasn't much available and we couldn't go outdoors. So I ended up ordering online. And, the quality was shocking. And I ended up spending around 2 days to try and put them together, only for it to fall apart a couple of months later. And I said never to, flat pack or MDF type furniture again. So I kind of got back into the research phase, made a few connections back in India, I started talking to an old university friend of mine who's based in India, and we ended up, getting in touch with somebody who was selling their studio in Jodhpur in Rajasthan, because of the downturn in the economic climate at that point. And we kind of thought that as an opportunity. So we bought this, we bought the studio, we kind of bootstrapped, put the money together, bought the studio, not knowing exactly, how we're going to take this, but that was our opportunity. And then, kind of tried to understand what sort of processes that particular organization or that studio was, utilizing, how they were manufacturing the furniture, handcrafting the furniture, and so on and so forth. And as a result, the timber maker was born. And since then, I've been on the sustainability journey. So everything that we do from a sustainability point of view is not just about us as the timber maker. It's about everything that we do around it as well, right from product selection all the way to the customer point of delivery and beyond that as well.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's such a beautiful story about, and I think a lot of people found themselves in the same position over the pandemic where, they had an opportunity to rethink their career and to turn that into a purpose-driven career where you're working with a product that's sustainable and you're making a difference. And that, was there a point that you was weighing up whether you went back into corporate or whether you why a purpose-driven sustainability product?
I mean, obviously during the initial startup phases, we're still a startup. We've been going about 18 months now, but during the initial months, I was still interviewing, not knowing what was going to happen next, because it was such a difficult period pretty much for everybody across the globe. And obviously, I had to make sure that I've got some sort of a stable income coming in, given the fact that my wife was on maternity leave and we were going to have a second daughter. So all of a sudden, you've got more bills to pay, you've got a mortgage, and so on and so forth. So what you always you have that in the back of your mind. What if this doesn't work? It's different if you're single and you don't have much responsibilities. You can just do whatever you've got to do after that. But then you've got three other lives to actually think about. But I was kind of intent to try and make this work. So I was constantly sort of looking at competitors to see what they are or aren't doing, to kind of learn from them as well. So again, as I said, everybody talks about sustainability, but do they actually walk the talk?
Yeah.
So I had to kind of make sure that everything we do, right from the get-go, sustainability is actually ingrained in our business veins, and it actually matters to customers when you actually talk about what you're actually doing, giving them something that that they want, and especially consumers now are more and more aware of the damages that organizations or companies or products actually cause to the environment. So they're more environmentally conscious. They want to know. They don't just want to know what your product is, but they want to know you as an organization, who's behind that. So we do everything possible, or everything we can, to make it possible that we've got a sustainable product.
And can you tell us a bit more about that, like where the wood comes from and what makes it sustainable? And
so I mean, what we do is, I mean, we've got our own supply base who either provide sustainable wood, and when I say sustainable wood, it's wood that is fast growing, like mango wood, acacia wood, which you can harvest fairly quickly, or we use sustainably sourced wood from suppliers who are FSC certified or equivalent of FSC certification back in India, which is called RIKSH, VRIKSH, which means that the wood is actually sourced from conflict-free or in responsible and ethical means. And even the materials that we use to finish products off, such as polish and lacquer, we kind of use water-based lacquers and sealers, eco-friendly polish such as tung oil or linseed oil, which which has less chemicals or no chemicals. And it gives you a very natural feeling as well. So the customer ends up feeling very close to nature as possible. It's the wood that the product that we handcraft has a very tactile feel to it. So you can actually feel the grains of the wood. So we use a mix of that, and plus we're always on the lookout for reclaimed timber as well, because we can create beautiful pieces from them because they have their own character. And Rajasthan, especially has so many sort of old mansions and developments and buildings where either they're being refurbished or redeveloped or kind of being brought down for whatever reasons. We try and source sort of any wood that we can from them. I mean, very recently, we actually handcrafted a bespoke table from an old mansion door, which was about 100 years old. It took us a lot of effort. It took us about 100+ hours of work to try and cure it, treat it, and give it a new lease of life for a private client. But that's the kind of stuff that we enjoy doing most, to kind of try and repurpose something into something beautiful the customer can actually enjoy and has a bit of history to it.
Yeah, I love that, and I've seen the table, and it is absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favourite pieces of yours. But that sort of journey and that refurbished product, and I think that's what really so many more companies need to think about. How they can recycle products and turn them into something really beautiful. But could you tell us a little bit more about your studio in India and the people that work there and the community there?
Yeah, so obviously our studio is based in Jodhpur, and Rajasthan generally, has a large community of sort of excellent artisans and craftsmen. But what we do is we work with these craftsmen that are from rural communities, and obviously we pay them fair wages, and it just doesn't stop at that. I mean, we actually work with their families if they've got children who are going to schools or are struggling to send their kids to school. We try and make sure that we can get them into government funded schools, so we kind of look after them. And we want to kind of take that a step further by kind of trying to partner with such government aided schools or even orphanages, for that matter of fact, and try and support them by providing free school meals, books for education. So as and when we're growing, we're kind of looking at ways and means possible to try and give it back to the community. Because at the end of the day, it's the artisans that actually make the magic happen for us. And we want to kind of thank them in our own way to try and make sure that they can prosper, they can sort of learn new skills and trades, so we can put them on training, give them the right tools. But at the end of the day, I mean, we want them to work for us, but at the same time, we want them to flourish. And we try and we are sort of on that journey to try and expand what we're doing from a community perspective. And at the same time, here as well, we're looking for sort of partners and charities who we can actually work with, where we can give back to the community back in the UK, more locally in Essex, where we're based. So I'm having conversations with local charities here in terms of how we can support and partner them, and things like that. Yeah,
that's really lovely. And that giving back you know, as a business to create something so beautiful and then think about the community that you're working with. That sort of social value is so important today.
Very important.
Yeah, it really is. What's your vision? So what's your vision for the future of the brand? You're a startup, but you sound so on the right track, and like you want to do so much good. What's next?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we're very early stages at the moment, and we've got some really good traction. Very recently, we've been featured in the British Vogue, the World of Interiors, and House and Garden magazine, which is owned by Condé Nast. So that's a big, you know, feather in the cap for us to be recognized by one of the biggest fashion houses in the country, or world for that matter of fact, to showcase our product. More locally, I've been featured in Business Time in Essex and Sustain Essex, which is sort of the county's only business-to-business magazine. And we currently sort of deliver all over the UK, and we offer free delivery and things like that. But the vision in the next 5 years is to sort of expand over to Europe. If obviously Brexit wouldn't have happened, we would have probably launched, you know, EU-wide. But we've had to take a step back to kind of rethink our strategy in terms of how we're going to be able to scale up, how our distribution network is going to work in a sustainable fashion. Because our current logistics partner who we work with here in Kent is a sustainable and an ethical company as well. I mean, 50% of their warehouse is powered by solar power, and all of their 85% of their fleet is either low emission or electric vehicle fleet. So as I said, I mean, we make sure that all our end-to-end solution is sustainable. So, you know, I want to be considered as one of the top furniture handcrafting companies or organizations in the UK, at least in the next 5 years, bringing top quality limited edition or bespoke furniture to consumers and businesses alike.
And I'm absolutely sure that you will be, with that mindset, and, you know, with a sustainability mind, it can just do so much, and it makes you stand out. And congratulations on, you know, the work that you've done. And I hope that more good comes for you, and out of the pandemic that there's more companies that are formed in the same way, because it really is, you've come so far in such a short time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the brand grows. But thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. If anyone wants to look you up, what's your website?
My website is www.timbermaker.com. So timbermaker, one word, or they can look us up on Instagram as The Timber Maker.
Perfect. That's lovely. Thank you. And thanks again for your time, and have a lovely day.
Thanks so much, Sam.
Okay. Bye-bye.